Good morning and welcome to another beautiful morning out here in the Masai Mara. Starting off with a herd of, how many would you say, Dave? 200? 200 or so buffalo. My name is Jamie. This morning Dave is on camera with me and Brent is sleeping in, and we get to go on our first solo drive around the Mara. I'm so excited. Don't forget to send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter. It's an amazing thing that we can jump all the way from South Africa here to Kenya and experience all different aspects of African wildlife. I just saw something happen behind that termite mound that I'm a little bit confused by. You'll see there's a lot of young calves with this particular herd, and I just saw, out of the corner of my eye, it was so quick and so fleeting, I just saw a buffalo throw a calf right up into the air and over her back. And that happens quite a lot with buffalo. Ooh, a little bit of upsetness. Just there on the left, they've stopped now. Upsetness is not a word, but we'll go with it. It happens quite regularly with young calves. They get confused and they go to the wrong mum, or attempt to suckle from a buffalo bull, which is never positively received, and they often get thrown up into the air, legs waving. But that's the first time I've ever seen a baby somersault over a buffalo's back, and I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. I hope the little one's okay. Can't see it though. So we'll just sit here for now and wait and see whether or not it pops out. And then the plan from there is to go and search for our baby elephant from yesterday. It was such an amazing experience, seeing that little elephant taking its very first steps. Brent was busy chatting away just so that we could actually show it all to you at a later stage, but I was sitting glued to my binoculars. And then who knows what other things we might find. The buffalo here are so much bigger than they are in South Africa. The buffalo bulls in particular, although the cows are too. They're probably, I would say, about 200 kilograms heavier on average, which is over 200 pounds. These things are enormous. And then Dave, actually, if we look, I was going to say, let's have a look and see, but it's flown away. Bird's flown away, and we are going to move on. So while we do, let's see whether or not Taylor, back in Djuma, has had any luck with the wild dogs. And here we are with a herd of elephants. It's not my herd. I've been closely examining each and every single elephant ear to try and see, because I did take note of the female that we saw, and I've been checking every elephant's ear, which of course for each and every elephant has a unique sort of setup of notches and sort of triangles or V's or cups out of them. And it's definitely not her herd, but there are some truly massive females in this group. The tusks on some of these elephants are enormous here. The females especially, I've noticed. They seem to have really, really long tusks. I mean, there's a female at the back, a little bit further off to the left. There she is. Oh, of course she went. Yes, that one. The one that went behind the other elephant, as I mentioned her. There we go. There we go, girl. That's a female. She's really got incredibly long tusks. And whilst there are a couple of little ones as well, it's not our herd. And I'm thinking that last night with a wobbly tiny new baby, I'm thinking they might not have moved too far away. So hopefully we'll be able to catch up with them and find them. But for now, this is a really very peaceful way to spend a morning. It goes to show just how long the grass here is at the moment, when baby elephants disappear almost completely. And good morning to Stanley times 3. You want to know how is the baby elephant doing? Hopefully we'll actually be able to find it at some point. I got quite worried yesterday just because it took that little one so long to finally find its feet. And in the beginning stages when we were sitting watching it, because we saw her kicking it, and I started to worry that it wasn't moving. We didn't see any movement from it for quite a considerable period of time. And then all of a sudden this little tail stuck up. And it kept, the whole standing up process was mostly done bottom first. The bottom kept going up into the air, and then the front legs just weren't working quite as well as the back legs. And there was one point where it actually fell over and it rolled right over, legs in the air. It was adorable. And Mom looked stressed in the beginning, and then she calmed down. But the whole process, what amazed me about it, because it wasn't what I expected. In an open area just like this, but with even less grass and even less cover, the whole herd left her. Except for one young elephant. We were debating whether or not it was her older daughter, or if perhaps it was just a curious young elephant that perhaps wanted to see what was going on. But the whole herd left her to go through that whole process alone out in the open. I've no doubt if she screamed, if she gave a call of alarm, if lions came through or hyenas came through, they would have come to rescue her. But it was unexpected, because everything I've known about elephants made me expect them to sort of surround her and protect her in the way you see those. I mean, it's my first ever proper elephant birth. With the videos that I've watched, it always seems as though the rest of the herd is there to comfort her. But it wasn't like that at all in this case. So I'm not quite sure. There's so much still that we don't understand about these amazing animals. She's a very old girl. Hey? Beautiful. Look at those tusks. Robert, I don't think I've observed enough to actually answer your question yet. I know Brent's actually mentioned this female before with the one very long tusk, but Robert wants to know, how does the tusk length of the females compare to the males? I've seen some big elephant bulls, but I wouldn't say that I haven't noticed how much larger their tusks are, whereas with the females, they do seem to be so much larger than the ones that we see on Djuma. It's just a small observation. The males that I've seen have been pretty much equivalent. And yes, of course, this area is also famous for having some big elephants, but Kruger actually apparently has some of the largest elephants in the world. But it seems to me that the elephant female tusks are just that little bit larger here, noticeably larger actually. Obviously that's genetic, so not all of them will have massive tusks. And Sassy B, you say these elephants are massive. Their tusks are massive. I'm not sure if there's that much of a difference in body size, but to be honest, I find comparing things here really tricky, because I can't quite tell. There's no comparison. It's so open and it's very difficult to compare in terms of size. Okay, our elephants are wandering off, and of course Ali, the cat lady of Djuma, is sitting with her leopard. Alice? Alright, well it seems as though, sorry about that everyone, we've been chatting to Alice over Skype. We communicate to Djuma over the phone. We've stopped off at a herd of the different antelope that you see out here, one of which being the Thompson's gazelle, which I have to say are one of my new favorite creatures. They are absolutely bizarre looking. They're tiny. They're about half the size of an impala, I would say, or just a little bit over half the size of an impala. But it's their horns that I find so peculiar. They've got these long, strange-shaped horns. And the males obviously have quite a long set of horns, like this one. But it's another example out here of a female having horns as well. And this looks like it's a bachelor group, so I can't see any females at the moment. But they've got these tiny little spear-like horns that stick out of the top of their head. Most impressive, though, are the impala rams. Everybody told me that they were bigger, but I think it's something that you have to see in real life. I've seen pictures of them. I think it's something that you have to kind of get to see in real life before you get an idea of just how massive they are. Those horns are... It's actually really disconcerting when you're so used to South African impala to see them here with their massively wide horns. I would say they're double the size of our impala in South Africa. And that, of course, is because impala here, unlike ours, don't have a strict breeding season. So on Djuma, you've been watching the impala chase each other around, chase the females around. Here, they're basically on a testosterone high all year round. So they mate all year round, they give birth all year round. And that's created a situation where the males are, it almost looks as though they're basically impala on steroids. The males are massive. And everywhere you go, it's strange. Everywhere you go, you don't see the nursery groups. You just see impala of different ages. Cody, hello and welcome. Cody would like to know how long their antlers can grow. Well, first of all, Cody, here in Africa where we have antelope, we call them horns. And the reason that they're different is because... What have you all seen? Oh, I think they've just seen other Thompsons. The reason that they're different is because those horns are made of solid bone. So unlike antlers that can be shed every year, impala horns and antelope horns are made of solid bone surrounded by keratin. And this is as large as they get. This is a very, very big ram. This is as big as they're going to grow. I haven't had the opportunity to actually get up close and personal to these impala, but I reckon... Sure, how long would I say that is? If you took it from the base of the horn to the tip, I would say that's about 70 centimeters, maybe even longer. Oh, you know what? They're banded mongoose. Oh, that's what they're looking at. I've been dying to get banded mongoose on camera, but the grass is so long here that it's really difficult. Now I can't see them anymore. Hold on, let me see if I can. I think they might go up onto the ridge. It's just this little sea of tiny animals that sort of flow through the grass. Come on, where have you gone? I need a pair of binoculars. Now, Claire, you'd like to know what my first impression was of the Mara space. It's space like I can't even begin to describe. And with that comes a sort of a sense of freedom and being right out in the open and in the wilderness. I think that would be how I would describe it. My first impression of the Mara has just been indescribable in a way. And we're going off in search of a cheetah, apparently, if I could understand where we are and what's going on. While we do that, Taylor has found a completely different species of giraffe. Here we are at one of the Mara crossing points that in just a few weeks is going to play out the struggle of the wildebeest and the zebra and the Thompson's gazelle as they attempt to navigate the dangerous waters. And here is one of the reasons why it's an incredibly dangerous time for all of the animals that attempt to cross. An absolutely massive crocodile. And apparently each of these crossing points has their own resident male crocodile that lurks about. You'll get other little ones, but he is just patiently waiting, lurking, knowing that the time of plenty is on its way. And they can go for incredibly long periods of time without feeding on anything. But, of course, once the migration arrives, and at the moment, as we speak, they're probably about... Oh, I'm still not great on distances and where we are exactly. I would say they're about 50 or so kilometers away and getting closer as we speak. Oh, are you going to go sunbathe? Look at that. He is enormous. What are the crocodiles that Brent named on Djuma? Vlad the Impaler and Boris. They shrink in comparison to the size of and enjoying a little bit of time sunbathing. Are those white-faced whistling ducks? Apparently we're at something called, they look like, they are white-faced whistling ducks. Yes, next to him there, exactly. He is indeed ginormous. I have no idea who sent that through. Sorry, we're talking back again about our crocodile. Somebody says that he's ginormous. He is indeed. He is absolutely ginormous. He's longer than me, easily. I wonder what he must weigh. A couple of 100 kilograms. He is absolutely gigantic. And you have to be. Each of these sort of crossings will be controlled by a big male that will fight off any potential rivals. Alright, onwards we shall go in search of other things, and this crocodile is contemplating when his breakfast is going to arrive. Fortunately, that's not a problem that Tingana has. To hear that Taylor has found Shongile. I've been wondering about her while I've been here, and just wondering about how she's doing. We've got some arch enemies of the leopards out here, and well, pretty much across Africa. We've actually got quite a few different animals around and about. We'll start off with our olive baboons, just because they are, or were, sitting so nicely out in the open for us. There's a couple of tiny babies around, so I'll keep my eyes peeled. At the moment they're foraging in the grass, which makes them... Bless you! I know, it's very dusty out here, isn't it? Whew. Would you like a tissue? We've got some toilet paper in the car if you need. Obviously not too bothered. And maybe inviting him towards the car is a terrible idea. So olive baboons that are just that much fluffier than the chukmas that we see in the Sabi sand. And I haven't actually seen much of them. They live around the mountain where our camp is situated, but I haven't really spent much time with them. I just see them dashing past every now and again. And then, of course, off to the right, one of the more common antelope species, the dopey, that I feel has the best name of any antelope ever. Dopey. Basically the East African equivalent of a sesame. And looks kind of like it was put together by the spare parts of all the other animals once, kind of the leftovers when it was created. It's got the body of a hartebeest and the legs of a wildebeest and the face of a goat, if you ever get a close-up view of them. A dopey. And then, just to set the scene, back a little bit further in towards the river, and the waterbuck, the Arathusa waterbuck that looks so different to ours. No white rings around their bottoms, just plain white bottoms and a very dark grey colour. They're pretty. They're so pretty. Alright, it sounds as though we need to jump all the way back to Djuma because Shongile's up and moving. How amazing is that? Tamba and Shongile in one place. That sounds fascinating to me. We are on our way home. I think we've got quite a busy day ahead of us, but I just wanted to stop by and give you a quick update on our hippo carcass that the hyenas managed to kill in a muddy pan just at the bottom of the mountain that we live on. And the vultures are here, but what's fascinating about this place is that there is so much food that the hyenas haven't even bothered to finish the hippo. That's still sitting there now, what, 4 days later? Must be? Looking a little bit bloated, I have to say. But I guess maybe the hyenas are coming in and feeding on it during the evenings when we're not around to see them. But really, I mean, this entire hippo carcass has basically gone to waste. The vultures are trying to get in, but it's difficult for them. Not that many hanging around. There's quite a few whitebacks in the trees. And then, just quickly to show you, the herd of buffalo that we started with this morning, making their way up towards this muddy wallow. There's the vultures in the shepherd's tree. Hello, guys. White-backed. Shame, it must be horrible for them. It's such a tempting meal, such a tempting opportunity, but there's absolutely nothing they can do in terms of flying down and feeding. They can't get any further inside the carcass. They need something to drag it out. And this is the herd of buffalo that we saw this morning. I'm still looking for the tiny calf that I saw get thrown into the air. I haven't seen it. I'm sure it's fine. Buffalo are not gentle with each other. I'm sure it's absolutely fine. So there you go. Just a sort of a completion of the story. Buffalo aren't perturbed at all by the hippo carcass. They're slowly, I think they might even wallow quite close to it. They're not going to be too bothered by the smell. It is starting to get a little bit rank, which is why I've parked us where I have, that we don't have to enjoy the smell. I I didn't want to keep you away for too long. It's been such a wonderful morning on Djuma, filled with leopards. Let's go back to a tumba in a tree.